Welcome to State of the World, the podcast that looks at the world, events, and tries to decipher what is going on with an eye toward what is best for the United States, which is the nation that is the last best hope for the world, to borrow a line from an old science fiction show, Babylon 5. So, this is going to be a relatively short one. This is a follow-up to our previous episode on Afghanistan, which talked about whether this loss of the Afghan war, from the American point of view, is positive or negative. And we, of course, look at that as, well, heck, just go listen to the episode and decide for yourself what we think. But this one, we're going to be talking about the question of, is the Afghan civil war ending or just entering a new phase? So, while the Taliban's rapid takeover of Afghanistan in this month of August 2021 appeared to be the final step in the long Afghan civil war that dated back to 1978, resistance to Taliban rule began to appear almost as soon as the Taliban set up shop again in the Afghan capital. As you may recall, the Taliban were in charge, the primary power in Afghanistan from about 1996 through 2001, when the U.S. invaded Afghanistan following the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the United States, which were conducted by Al-Qaeda, which, of course, was using Afghanistan as a base for their activities. So, going back to what's happening now. Ahmed Massoud, the son of the late Northern Alliance leader, also named Ahmed Shah Massoud, declared that he and his followers were setting up a base in the Panjshir Valley, which is a very difficult area to attack, as the Soviets learned in their war in Afghanistan, as his father had in the past, to fight against the Taliban. If the younger Massoud's forces survive to continue to plague the Taliban as his father's forces did, we may see a sixth phase of the Afghan civil war. If you look at our written newsletter, you'll see a link to the where we talk about the different phases of the Afghan civil war. So a little bit of background here. So after the communist coup in Afghanistan in 1978, which sparked the Afghan civil war, and the subsequent Soviet invasion in 1979, anti-communist forces set up in the remote Panjshir Valley into the northeast of Kabul. Despite repeated Afghan army and Soviet military offensives, the rebels held on to the valley. Fast forward then to 1996, after the Soviets have left and after the Taliban have taken over. One of the top non-Taliban rebel leaders who had fought against the Soviets, Ahmed Shah Massoud, resumed his war against Kabul, establishing the Northern Alliance of non-Pashtun Afghans to resist the Taliban. The Taliban is a largely Pashtun organization, while the Northern Alliance were primarily ethnic Tajik and Uzbek Afghans. The main ethnic groups in Afghanistan are the majority Pashtuns, the minority Tajiks and Uzbeks, who are related, of course, to the majority populations in the countries of Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. All those groups are Sunni Muslim, for the most part, and there's a Shiite minority in the west along the Iranian border who are called Hazaris, and they are more or less under the protective wing of Iran. And back when the Taliban were the power in Afghanistan prior to 9/11, Iran and the Taliban had some issues and actually some border tension because of how the Taliban were treating the Shiite Afghans, who the Shiite Iranians were concerned about. So, after the 9/11 attacks on the U.S. by Al-Qaeda, Sunni jihadist group based in Afghanistan, but separate from the Taliban, allied with them. The U.S. and allied nations worked with the Northern Alliance to overthrow the Taliban. Ahmed Shah Massoud, however, the father of the current rebel leader, was killed 2 days prior to the 9/11 attacks by Al-Qaeda assassins. It is believed that his killing was part of the plan against America, with the belief that the U.S. would attack the Taliban and Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan post 9/11. Now, with the U.S. retreating from Afghanistan and a new generation of anti-Taliban fighters setting up shop in the Panjshir Valley, again, like they did before, The Afghan Civil War, at least the late 1990s phase, has come full circle. Peace will not come to Afghanistan anytime soon, is our prediction. And in addition to this, China, which has a narrow border in the mountainous region where Tibet and Xinjiang and both Chinese areas under Chinese control, and then the northeastern tip of Afghanistan meet. There's concern in China that the Taliban will give more aid and assistance to China's Muslim rebels. There's a Uyghur group. Uyghurs are the primary Muslim ethnic group in the Xinjiang province. And there has been armed resistance against China from this group. Remember, the Chinese Communist Party is officially atheistic. They do not like people who are active Christians, active Muslims, active Buddhists, any group that could be a religious power against the Communist Party. And in their effort to establish full control, again, places like Xinjiang and Tibet, they are being very repressive, and that has sparked armed resistance. China has made noises that they are concerned that the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan could presage increased activity against them. So, anti-Taliban forces in Afghanistan could potentially look to the Chinese for some assistance. And additionally, going back to the old conflict between Taliban and Iran, again, if the Taliban start to treat their Shiite minority, Afghanistan's Shiite minority, badly, that could lead to trouble with Iran. And again, Masood, if he survives these next few weeks in his mountainous stronghold, may end up benefiting from assistance from these other actors quietly. It's possible the U.S. will supply them. Since we are leaving, it's probably unlikely at this point, but you never know. So, again, Afghanistan, it war with itself since 1978 in different phases of that war have involved the Soviets, the United States, many other nations assisting us. Al-Qaeda has been involved, and Pakistan has been involved. This conflict is not going to end. So, we don't know what's going to happen other than it looks like the war will continue. Most likely without American involvement this time, but you never know. All right, this has been a update from State of the World. Please check out our Substack newsletter, also called State of the World, at stateoftheworld.substack.com. And we also have a recent posting on the U.S. retreat from Afghanistan and how it will long-term be a positive for the U.S. as a world power. If you like our newsletter and or our podcast, please subscribe. Both are free. Take care. God bless. And watch the news. See what's going on. Make your own decisions.